Hello and welcome to Cowboys Takeover. I'm your host, Jason Kent, and Dallas did what we expected them to do. They came out, they pretty much dominated. There's two little plays there that, you look back and this is a shutout game. Other than that, we handled our business. We did what we needed to do to lock up that number 2 seed. And you couldn't be more proud of this team. I'm going to bring in my co-host. You all know him. Let's go, Mr. Aaron James. Let's discuss this. When we first started this, Dallas and Philly are going to be fighting for this thing. And, before the season, I think you had them winning the division. I did not. But to really look at this season, was it everything you kind of thought it was? Because I felt like there was a lot of obstacles that this team overcame this year. Just throughout the season and looking where they were and how far back in the division, and kind of everything needed to fall right for them to come back and take it. And they did. And they did in spectacular fashion today. So is everything you really thought it would be?
I think it turned out very similar to what I thought it would. But there's also, you kind of have the, our challenge in playing on the road, which we weren't anticipating. But at the same time, you have, Dak and CD really kind of leading the way in the National Football League as the top QB wideout. But then our run game and Pollard just not as explosive. So you take a little here, you give a little there. I was thinking really, Parsons was going to have even a more dominating year than what he showed. Even though he had a really good year, I was thinking, 18 sacks, somewhere in that area. We haven't really talked about, 45 plus quarters gone by without a holding call on Parsons. I kind of been seeing that in social media.
You saw there was even some plays today where you're looking, you're just like, this kid's earned, those calls. He is a premier pass rusher. He's earned some of these calls. But I agree with you. I think, to me, I really love the emergence of Dak and CD. I think, to me, that's where everything really, it was that, I think the San Fran game right after it, right before it, that's where CD, give me the ball. Like, not a flashy diva, but like, I want to help this team and win. And he really, from that point on, he established himself as, number 1 or number 2 in the NFL at receiver. He has an opportunity, given, it'd be tough because Tyreek is an animal, but if Tyreek's held down, then CD could lead the league in catches and yards. And he's one off on touchdowns with another 2 today. So I think the emergence and just that next step for CD, I think, was huge. Only problem now is now you're going to have to pay him like a number 1. And that contract's coming up soon. But I was excited to see what Dak did. And this defense, I felt like they held their own. Their run defense was a little bit better than I thought it would be. There were games where we gave up a lot. And just the emergence of DaRon Bland, I think, was huge. And so it's nice to see for next year. And then we'll talk, a little bit later in the episode about Gilly and how that could affect things. But, looking at today, the biggest takeaway from this victory, I think you and I both said, we have it like 34-17, 34-13, somewhere in there. So we expected a pretty dominant victory. And outside of really 2 miscues, two bad plays on, with a block kick and a tip pass, Dallas shuts this team out and dominates in a pretty spectacular fashion. They got their takeaways, so I was excited to see that. And then Dak came in doing what you want to see him do. He was so efficient today. I think he was like 30 of 36, just hitting everything. And again, with CD, another 13 catches today. So they just go in there, 31 of 36, and 13 catches on 13 targets for CD. They are going to be tough to stop. I think when you have, I can't remember, maybe even Romo and To, I don't know, they weren't like he's throwing him a lot. So I think to me that was the biggest you're seeing. Then when they're on the same page, and they have been, Dak can be super efficient. And even seeing Cook's got a touchdown today, Ferguson making plays. So it looks like this offense going into the playoffs is rolling on all cylinders. And that to me is my biggest takeaway, because you're going back to Dallas. You got to do it on the road where you've kind of struggled this year. You really put up that offense and that defensive performance on the road. Now you're coming home where they showed the stats. They eat it home on both sides of the ball.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but this time in this season, when you see the ball coming off of Dak's hand, there's like excitement. You're like, oh, what does he see? Like, where is this going? You just know he's not going to put it in harm's way. He's making the right decision. And it's, man, I had some inclinations. I don't think I was on air and said Dak for MVP candidate by the end of the season. Something we didn't talk about while we were talking in preseason or off season about who's going to win the division. We never really talked about seeding, right? Like the winner of this division is probably going to get a 1 or a 2 seed.
Yeah.
But the fact that now we're going into the playoffs with a 2 seed, and then we have the hot streak that we do at home. The way Dak is scrambling, pre-call, pre-reads, line of adjustments. From today, I was pleasantly surprised at what I saw of the offensive line. I know their defensive line for Commanders wasn't, their I don't believe it was their full starting lineup, but with Zach Martin,
guys too,
yeah, with Zach out, with Tyler out, I was even a little bit nervous seeing Tyron Smith out there. We were able to, push guys around. I think they came in. It just seems like they came in focused. There were some miscues that kept the game close, but as anticipated, we showed up. To me, I think McCarthy left the starters out there a little bit too long, by at least the 2 drives probably. So thankfully, from an offensive perspective, it looks like we're gonna be okay. Brandon Aubrey missing 2 field goals technically. With 1 block.
Little bit nervous after last season. That's definitely something I was going to bring up later to you, man. He made the 50-yarder late, so he's not, so he's got a little bit of confidence going in. It is a 50-yarder, but yeah, you don't want to see that come playoff time. That really last year playoffs was too much to deal with.
Yeah, and the conditions were not that good out in DC today, so for whatever that's worth, but I think you at least get the perfect perfect season out of your mind, right? And home, we should have 2. We hopefully have at least 2 home games. Yeah. Perfect conditions. He's hitting them clean from 60 yards out.
And the other thing you mentioned a little bit, you just touched on it. To me, I think the big difference in this season is Dak's mobility. He's able to get back to what he was pre-injury. It looks like he's moving around in that pocket. At times this year he has scrambled, and it's not one of those things. I remember, last year when he came back, he was tentative. He wasn't ready. He wasn't full. Didn't seem like he was ready going even out of that injury. So a couple years out from that injury now, Dak's really able to get back to his old self, moving around. So I think that's to me the biggest key of their success this season, because Pollard definitely hasn't been what we expected. I'm looking at it now. It kind of you see why they did give him the franchise tag. I don't think they'll franchise tag him again after what we saw this season. If you go out, maybe go get a bigger back. Maybe you can bring Pollard in as that secondary back again, but I think he's shown he's not your everyday guy. At least not the touches like Zeke was. But I was happy. Their defense, Micah got his 14th sack, so he broke his new season high. Bland had another interception today. And I think Dallas had 2 as a team. So they're still getting the takeaways. So to me, it was just nice to see them clicking on all cylinders. It's something I mentioned where I wanted to see the defense really show up today. I'm not going to fault them for the 10 points. Could they have stopped? I think with the fourth down that, they had an opportunity, but still, you got it on the 20. So I'm not really faulting them. I think that defense really showed up today and did what they needed to do. And then Dak was just super, super, super efficient. So with that win, we did lock up and secure that number 2 seed. So with all of the games going final today, we will be seeing Green Bay, a team that I think a lot of us remember. I'm sure we'll get into it. Last time we played Green Bay in the playoffs, we all remember that. How important do you think that was? I know we touched on it, but now that it's finally locked up, and it was nice that we actually locked it up. We didn't have to worry about the Giants destroying the Eagles today for us to win that, win the number, get it. Because even if we didn't win, we would have went down to number 3 seed. So still would have, we had to have that win. So I think it's super important, right? Like you said, we get the 2 home games. They showed the statistics today. Where Dallas is like a +10 turnover ratio. They're, the wins, the points differential. I think they're negative on the road. So it's one of those things that this team is not. I thought the run game would be there this year, and with it not, I think it hurt a lot. And you see, they play better at home. For some reason, significantly better. It's very shocking.
Yeah, it is very shocking, given the talent that we have and the seasoned coaching and the veterans all around. But the defense is hitting on all cylinders, like you said. Donovan Wilson, he's really getting into his own. An interception in each of the last 2 games. He's being, one of more of our physical safeties. So he's looking great. Fergie's doing his thing. With the Packers, it's a really good, I think, just another confidence booster to be able to come in first game of the playoffs and have that type of matchup. They have a very young team. Jordan Love, very limited in his experience.
The youngest in the NFL.
Yeah, Love, very inexperienced, obviously, at this level. And with how we just fly around at home, it should be, a pretty comfortable type of game for the first round, and just another moment, something to build off of. Now, as we're here, do I see a potential upset happening to the Niners in the second round? Right now, I
retract my previous statement from last episode. For all of our listeners, I don't see the Eagles upsetting them anymore. I don't think that's going to happen. They did not look good against, I think, AJ. From what I heard, AJ said AJ Brown could have tore his ACL. And Hurts' finger looked like it hurt. It looked terrible. So that's, I agree. I think we're going to have to travel to San Fran for that NFC Championship game if we make it.
Well, if there is going to be an upset, I'm going to make a bold statement now. I have the Rams beating Detroit and going to San Francisco.
Ooh.
And we have the winner of the Bucks and Eagles. And how much of a gift does that look like right now?
It looks like a cupcake, I make a little, I'll discuss it more, but Aaron Jones is starting to really come on. And Jordan Love's fine as guys. So that matchup, it scares me a little bit, but this Dallas team, they prove why they're number 2. We discussed it all preseason, all off season. It's San Fran, it's Dallas, and it's Philly. We all thought there could have been a sleeper in there. We all said, and Detroit seemed to be that team. It's that could be a tough matchup in the second round if we have to play them, depending on how everything shakes out. Detroit, so it's all, there's a lot of good teams, but I do think locking up that 2 seed, you knew it'd be tough to get to 1 because you thought Eagles, were going to be really good. You knew San Fran had a very, very good team. I think everybody kind of figured, barring injury, San Fran was probably going to get that 1 seed. And we played them once. We know, you've seen them. You hope we all know how it ended the last 2 seasons. You couldn't have asked for, if you're a Dallas fan, for really to play out much better. You would have loved the 1 seed, but it was going to be tough to get. So I think getting that 2, you couldn't have asked for it much better from where it was. You needed a lot to happen 4 weeks ago to even sniff that 2. And it fell right for you. So you just got to take your blessing, and we got to do what we've done all season at home. I think that's the most important thing. But the one thing that does worry me today, watching that game, there was that 3rd down play. It was a real big play, beautiful pass by Howell. I'll give them the credit, all the credit in the world for that. But when Gilly dove out, they said it was a shoulder injury. You see those a lot. You typically see something tears. It's pretty significant injury. At this point, how big of a loss do you think that is for this Dallas team going in to the playoffs? If he has to miss any time.
So just to speculate a little bit, typically from what I've seen and observed, if it's the collarbone, they typically have their hand on their midsection or chest, just to favor that collarbone area. But he had his arm out straight. So I was initially thinking perhaps like his shoulder popped out or something, but that's generally when they have it dangling. But yeah, it could be muscular or something in the joints. But initially I thought it was his wrist, because he just wasn't moving his fingers and just was holding onto his wrist. So I had texted you that he could just
thought it. Yeah, you thought it was a wrist wrapped up. Yeah,
and we're good to go. But with the shoulder, we're just going to have to see what the diagnosis is. If he can't go, I don't see Jordan Lewis playing out there. Will probably be, one of our rookie cornerbacks, and we're likely going to have to just give a lot of support. We've kind of seen how that's played out against teams that take advantage of that. When was it? It was when we had Brown in there last year. Come in, and I forget which cornerback it was that dropped off, but we see teams take advantage of that. Now, playing at home, we can take advantage of time of possession, make teams one-dimensional, rely on our pass rush, so you can put some makeup over it a little bit. So hopefully, if he's not back this coming game against the Packers, he'll be able to play the following week. But I just kind of feel bad for him as a player if he's not able to go. A veteran trying to make a run, deep run. But who knows if we're going to be able to make it happen to have Gilmore back next season. So you hate for his experience with the team to end like this.
I agree. I hope it doesn't, man, because that, to me, if he's missing a couple games, are we better? Even without Gilmore, I still think we're better than the teams we have to play in the first 2 rounds. Could an upset happen? Yes. But Gilmore, like we said last week, he didn't make the Pro Bowl, but he's definitely played a Pro Bowl caliber season. He's been very good. And I think that's the reason, you get to see Bland have such a great season, is because teams know how good Gilmore is. So, they understand, let's go at Bland. And that's why his interceptions and touchdowns kept piling up. Because even as he's getting them, other teams are like, well, we can't go after Gilmore because we know what Gilmore is. He's a former All-Pro, former Defensive Player of the Year. If they lose him, it's going to be tough to beat this. It's going to be tough to beat San Fran and win a Super Bowl. I think if he's out, that significantly hurts that defense, because yes, it's really about the pass rush, but you have Gilmore there that can go at the other team's number one. You saw what he did when he had to face AJ Brown. You saw what he had to do. You saw what he did against Seattle when they finally put him on DK. So the type of shutdown he is. It's going to be tough to make a legitimate run, I believe. If he's not out there, everybody's banged up. So if he can get out in that field, I know he's good to go. But if he's hurt, I'm worried about the run. I don't know if they can make it without his presence because I think he's been that good this year. I really do.
Now, what if they come out and they say he'll be a game time decision because he'll be at 75%, but if we save him a week, he'll be at 85%. What do
Put
you
him
do
out
as
there.
a
I want him
coach?
out there. I don't want to risk it because it's not baseball or basketball where you have to win 3 or 4 in a one game situation, especially Green Bay. They have, Jordan Love's definitely emerges the passer, and we'll know more when we do our pregame for that. If Gilmore's assessment, but I just think they have some weapons. They have a pretty good run game. You really, even Gilmore 75%, I think is our best corner. So I really think he's got to be out there. I don't even you got to. He's going to be tough to win without him.
I mean, it's going to be tough to tackle with a banged up shoulder, and he does a lot of shoulder tackling. He doesn't wrap up as much as I'd like him to, or as much as you think a veteran would. I would probably sprinkle him in, for like 40% of the snaps, and just keep the offense guessing, keep them off balance. We're likely going to have to move away from man-to-man coverage and go play more of a zone again to provide some more support. But I say let's enjoy and celebrate the next 24 hours because we came out on
Division
top.
champs, baby.
Division champs, man.
I think that's at the end of the day, you got to, goal one. Goal one has to be the division. That's your goal. Goal 2 is now the conference. So now you got to go out there. We're a team built to do it. I do believe this year, I think we discussed this window's getting shorter. We're a team to build, we're built to do it now. So that's, we got the division, bro. We got, it's so nice. We find, it's so nice to all that hard work, for this team, it paid off. And they, Dak definitely exceeded my expectations, and CD took that step as number 1 receiver in the league.
He did. CD exceeded my expectations. Even though I had them pretty high, what he was able to do. I mean, I'm not even thinking about Amari Cooper at this point. Just amazing what he's been able to do. He looks like the next Devontae Adams out there. I think he's still only going to get better.
He's 24 years old. This kid,
up, man.
the problem,
6-year deal.
That's going to be a conversation for this offseason. What type of contract is this kid looking at?
Well, between CD, Parsons, and Dak, somebody does the multi-year deal that helps the team.
It has to be Dak.
Whether it's Parsons that does the 10-year. What if they give him that 10-year, $300 million like we've seen in baseball?
Yo, I really, honestly, I would be more inclined to give that type of, maybe not, not that aggressive, but I would give CD top receiver money over a 7-8 year period with his age. To me, I think that, I know it's tough, but I would totally give CD. He's 24. Okay. You could get this kid, receivers can go to 32, 33, 34. Yeah. He's not a speed receiver. He's a possession guy. He gets open. He relies on that. That's stuff that doesn't go away. I would extend him out, but man, he's really taken that next step. He was in that probably second tier receiver, and he established himself as tier 1 guy 1. To me, they need to build off of that. I think for them to make the run, it's going to be tough without Gilmore, but it is really about this offense and what they do.
Yeah, no, I agree. But we'll have a lot of time to discuss those things. Hopefully we don't have to talk about them until February, middle of February.
Agreed.
Because we're talking about other things and upcoming games. But, this day to me couldn't have panned out better. As a whole, I wanted to play the Packers because especially with Gilly out, you got Nakua and Kupp that you have to worry about covering. And it makes me nervous without having Gilmore out there thinking about those guys. So we got the Packers coming in, a lot of inexperience, and then you have the Eagles lose, which in a dominating, slacking fashion, which that's not what they want. That was not their intention. You had AJ Brown go down with a knee injury. I read that Hurts was in the medical tent.
Broke his finger.
Broke his
middle finger. Yeah.
And then Marcus Mariota throws an interception in his first pass, is what I read.
It's, I don't wish injury on other teams, but it's got to be. That's one of those things. Like, it's tough. You even though it's your division rival, you never want to see that, especially if AJ Brown's hurt like that, because he can miss significant time next season. But it does, again, when we're looking at it from Dallas's point of view, everything's stacked up for you to have the shot at the team that's knocked you out the last 2 years and to get your revenge. And the team, as bad as it was, that beat your Keisters this season. So it's set up beautifully for that. And I just cannot wait. I cannot wait. And I'm just excited that our first year doing this, we're coming in the playoffs with high hopes. And you guys will hear about that playoff matchup Thursday night, like typical. We'll be here Thursday night live, our normal time on Facebook and YouTube. And we cannot thank each and every one of our viewers, our listeners enough that you guys have stuck with us through this first season. We truly appreciate it. We really, really, really thank you. And I know we're super excited about talking about this playoff matchup. So again, you can catch us on all of our social medias, Cowboys Takeover Podcast, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the TikTok. We're on there as well. And then you can also go over and give a like or subscribe over on the YouTube page. And then you can watch us on YouTube or Facebook whenever we're live, and they're all stored there. And then you can listen to us wherever you guys get your podcast listening needs. We truly appreciate you guys. We thank each and every one of you. And go give us a like, go give us a subscribe. We'll be back Thursday night to break down this big matchup with one of Dallas's oldest rivals in the Green Bay Packers. So we'll be here that night. See you guys then. Enjoy. God bless. Enjoy your week.